Thank you, Jens. That's a perfect coordination. Take care of my pink bag. Friends, Jens, Elisabetta, first of all, let me say that I really appreciate this opportunity to be here together to address all of you at this important forum at what is, I would say, a turning point for our common European defense, but also, especially today, for global politics. And let me say that at least myself, but I guess all of us had maybe to review a little bit the text of our speeches this morning, checking which parts were still up to date and valid, which parts had to be underlined even more. And I'm glad to say no parts of my speech had to be deleted, which is, I think, a good sign. But let me say very clearly that I think that being here together today is more important than ever. And I really appreciate, Jens, the possibility of doing so, not only for the work we do together, but also for the symbol. And sometimes symbols and images and messages are important in today's world. And being here today, working together, EU and NATO, on our common industrial basis, but also on our common defense across the Atlantic, is something that today is more important than ever. So, thank you. And then it's very important for me to share this opportunity to address you together with Jens and Elisabetta, because each of us can provide you with a different perspective of our common work to make the Europe of defense stronger, with the assumption that making the Europe of defense stronger is also a way of making NATO strong. Elisabetta has just spoken about the European Defense Action Plan, so I will not go back to that in detail. That will focus on our industrial base, on innovation and new technologies, but there is much more on which we are working. The action plan goes together with the implementation of our global strategy and also with the follow-up to the joint EU-NATO declaration we signed in Warsaw last summer. And these three processes go hand in hand and reinforce and complement each other. And this is why we've been working so much in the last 3-4 months together with Jens, together with all our teams, to make sure that things really are coordinated and proceed in parallel. Jens always says that a stronger European Union makes NATO stronger, and I obviously share this message very much. And of course, I'd like also to share this on the other side, saying that a stronger NATO makes Europe safer. Obviously, it goes without saying, at least on this side of the Atlantic for sure, that a stronger NATO makes also the US, Canada, all of us safer. We both follow our own paths. The European Union and NATO are two different things, different in nature, different mandates, but we run side by side. And it's very important that we keep this parallel track very carefully in mind as we work, as we are doing. Last June, Jens was the first person to receive our global strategy. I will remember that, I think, very well forever, because I gave him a copy just a few minutes. Some even said a little bit too early, but a few minutes after I presented it to the heads of state and government of the European Union in the European Council. Since then, we have met and consulted constantly, as our team made, to make both the European Union and the alliance stronger, with no duplications and in the closest possible cooperation. Now, the global strategy has spelled out a vision for a stronger European Union, and today we are already turning this vision into action. I will present a very ambitious and pragmatic implementation plan on security and defense to the European ministers of Foreign Affairs and Defense. One is here with us today. And we are moving fast for once. Indeed, it can happen, not only on defense. The implementation of the strategy is making fast progress also in other fields connected with the work we're doing on security and defense. For instance, on building resilience for societies and countries that are around us, or on connecting our internal and external policies, starting from those on counterterrorism or those on migration. Security today requires much more than the traditional military tools. This is very clear to NATO, this is very clear to the European Union. But we also know very well that development policies or other instruments that the European Union has in its toolbox often require to be supported by security and defense tools, and that our civilian and military operations often go hand in hand, so that there is no contradiction between the soft power and the hard power we dispose of. And defense matters also to a soft power, or a traditionally perceived soft power, as the European Union. And I see a growing awareness about this among our citizens and among our governments. It will be up to our member states now to define together what will be our level of ambition. This means we will define together the concrete challenges we believe it is essential we face together as European Union, and the instruments that are needed to do so. There is already, as I see, a great degree of unity on our goals and objectives. And let me also be clear on what we already somehow agreed on. And I had the opportunity to share this with defense ministers in NATO just a few weeks ago. We do not want to create another organization for collective defense. Let me be very clear on this. This is simply because we don't need it. NATO remains the cornerstone of European defense, just like it has been for almost 70 years. But there are many challenges that do not, and probably will not, in the near future, fall under NATO's mandate, which is a very specific one, and needs to be tackled as a matter of urgency. First, we need to protect our union through our external action, because tackling terrorism or organized crime outside our borders is absolutely vital to our domestic security in Europe. Second, we need to respond to crises in our neighborhood because they affect directly the security of our citizens. And third, we need to strengthen the capacities of our neighbors and partners, because security in our age can only be a collective effort. And the security of my neighbor, or those countries that are maybe not immediate neighbors in geographical terms, but are connected with us through corridors, is also our own security. So through partnerships, we can improve our security internally as well. I believe in this new phase of our global politics, Europe will be more and more an indispensable power. We see it today, I think, very clearly. There will be a growing request for a principled global security provider, for a superpower that believes in multilateralism and cooperation and partnership.